Hi you guys, so I'm here to analyze or give the breakdown on my first client's birth chart analysis in terms of analyzing where they would most likely gain from in life, in terms of like what would be beneficial to them in their lifetime, as well as breaking down certain little aspects regarding their birth chart. So again, this is a 31-year-old female client. Her occupation is a customs broker. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. So just to give it like a brief breakdown regarding basic aspects regarding her birth chart. So she does have Aquarius on the first house, which the rising or your ascendant usually depicts what the external world perceives you as, your persona, how you come off to other people. So she having Aquarius on the first house would make her come off as someone who's naturally a curious person, who's very, inquisitive regarding things. She wants to know, she wants to learn. That's how she comes off to people. And she also comes off as being like very strong or will-powered. So she did mention that like she feels like she has the capabilities to manifest a lot of things in her life, which I believe, maybe she probably has. But that's where it comes from. It comes from having Aquarius on the first house. So also she has a strong influence of Aries with the sun being in the third house. So the sun does depict some portion of your personality. So again, she could either be a little bit aggressive or determined, competitive as well, very much a go-getter personality type. She feels the need to take control of her actions and then take control of her life. Like no one else is going to be pushing her around. It's her will, her own doing pertaining to the direction of her life. The sun also does represent the father, so I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit regarding the father. So again, having the sun in Aries, which can be related, again, Aries could be related to law enforcement officers, sports, physical activities, anything regarding aggression or war or something like that, willpower. Having the sun in this case in the third house represents that her father could possibly be involved in law enforcement or something like that, military. I went ahead and I asked her what her father did, and she did acknowledge that he was enrolled in the Mexican military at some point in his life. Furthermore, he also did work as a mechanic, so I'm going to give a breakdown explanation as to her planetary placements and how they explain that. So you also have the third house, which originally is owned or represented by the sign of Gemini, but she has Aries in there. So Gemini represents several things. So again, one of the major things it does represent is communication, transportation, short distance, long distance travel. It also is related to the planet Mercury. So what does that represent as well? It represents trade, so on and so forth. But having the sun here in terms of analyzing what her father might have done, it also does represent the hands. So he works with his hands and he's in the automobile industry as a mechanic. So again, that entails long distance and short distance travel. So there you have it. So also analyzing the moon. What does the moon represent on someone's chart? It represents people's emotions, mindsets. More than likely, it could represent like some form of aspect into someone's psychology, I would say. So she has it like partially, like pretty close to the eighth house cusp. I believe it's in the 9th house between Libra and Scorpio. So for the most part, she does have like a happy-go-lucky type of personality, but she does get influenced negatively by her emotions at times, especially if any of her relationships are off. These are going to affect her in a negative manner. So what she wants is to have peace and serenity within her relationships, but if any of these things are off, they could potentially affect her emotions quite a bit. She's also possibly have gone through some form of emotional trauma throughout her life. I asked her about it and she does admit it. So there comes struggles with having the moon in this placement, partially because it brings a little bit of disharmony in terms of emotions. She feels most comfortable when she's in a relationship, I would say. She could also be seen as very romantic, and she also has a very diplomatic mind, so she kind of, you know, is probably the person that squashes arguments between people because they want to have everyone happy. All right, so furthermore, I'm going to get into the Jupiter placement on her chart. She does have it in Gemini, so Jupiter does represent the blessings of God. So your blessings given to you by God are anything related to the sign of Gemini. What is, again, Gemini represents communications, transportations, writing, the mind. So again, your type of personality would be one who is very talkative, loves communicating with people. Your blessings are going to come from that. Any career involving communication as a central action through the career. You would be a great salesperson if you wanted to, or you would do well in marketing as well. This could also possibly make you a great teacher as well, because you have the talent of communication. That's your blessing in life. So in terms of her current employment, she does work as a customs broker. So she's like the middle person between, you know, I guess several people, where she deals with people's imports and exports, which also does kind of explain trade, relating it to Mercury, Gemini. So again, your blessings would be from anything related to Gemini. You have Gemini in the 5th house, so your Jupiter is in the 5th house. So what is the 5th house? It relates to children, education, mostly undergraduate education, fun and creativity, romance, speculative business, past life deeds. So in your past life, and I'm bringing this up because Hindus believe in reincarnation, you would have done really good deeds to give you this type of placement, because this is a good placement to have. This gives you some kind of intelligence. So you come off as a very witty, intelligent person. You love to learn. You have sound knowledge in speculative business, or you could have sound knowledge in that. So if you want to be a stock trader, you know, I think you'd probably do well in that. Also, like, let's say hypothetically you go gambling, you're probably the type who kind of instinctively knows just what to do, and you might get winnings from that as well. And again, anything related to creativity or children, because your Jupiter is in the 5th house. So again, this expands your intelligence, but in terms of all aspects of life, not just like, you know, formal education and intelligence. This also aspects your 9th house, so you have an inclination again towards learning. And later on, when Jupiter rules a time period in your life, your Jupiter Dasha, this is more than likely when you would likely travel the most, or when she would travel the most. This aspects your 11th house, so I feel like you would more than likely have a network circle or friends that would have like really good positions in society and be very intelligent or sophisticated in their field. This aspects your 1st house, so in terms of children, creative expression, again, you could have a profession with children if you wanted to, being a teacher to children, speculative business such as a stockbroker, accountant, investing, public speaking. You also have or could have sound knowledge in terms of building wealth. So like you might possibly, you know, throughout your life be able to hoard wealth or build quite a good amount of wealth. And then I'm going to get into a aspect where, you know, probably a lot of women want to know about. So Jupiter also represents your husband in your chart. So again, you have it in the 5th house. So this kind of represents that you more than likely will meet your husband, anything related